All right, hi friends. Feeling pretty called to. Here's a little white dog. I love being places where I can see dogs. I'm feeling pretty called to chat with y'all about what it was like being autistic before I knew it was autism. I think that's the first step of my YouTube channel. I didn't expect it to come on so quickly, but I think I'm learning with creativity, like sometimes I feel called to do things and to just step out of my own way and put it out there and start small. I have these grander visions, which I'll get to when I've got time, but you got to start somewhere, right? So yeah. So I grew up in small town Alberta, a small city Alberta in the 90s. I was never going to fit in and I was always going to be weird, but I kind of had to learn some survival strategies. So I learned to mask pretty well. Too well, like so well that I fully burnt out and then didn't even know that's what was happening, although I had language that was pretty freaking close before I had the full thing. There was even one time where I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm autistic and like people and relationships and social dynamics and all that stuff is a special interest, and that's how I've been able to hide it. And then I was like, no, that's silly. That's just complex trauma speaking. Which I don't even know right now. I'm sure like those two things can be co-concurrent. So like there probably is a lot of complex trauma just around like how I've masked and how I've tried to fit in, and just like being a human who is very, very sensitive and pushing that down. And so like I got a theater degree. I got an acting degree. I worked my ass off and struggled, and it took me 14 years because I took an 8-year break and only finished up during the pandemic. I learned how, like, I spent thousands of hours and dollars to like learn how to tune into my body and like have this authentic expression. I do. I know what called me to theater, which was I never ever thought I could do it. I tried band in grade 6, and I had a friend who did theater and had a lot of fun. And so when I moved schools and moved cities, I was like, hey, I'm going to do this theater thing. And I was like, I couldn't look at the audience. I mumbled. I couldn't speak up loudly. I was terrible at it. I would like try improv and fall away from improv for like years and years and years. Like from the time I was 15 until 25. So there were like 10 years of kind of dipping my toe into improv and out of improv. And then like intense theater training that taught me how to like know my body and be aware of my inner and my outer and like movements and I don't know, just all the stuff. I think the other really interesting thing for me about autism is like I lived a very like autism friendly life at a young age. Like we lived by a lake and kind of in a small like vacation community actually at one point when I was young, and like I was always outside and I was an only child, so just like playing in my own world and getting lost in my imagination, and I always had my dogs around. And so it just like never really showed up as a thing because it was just easy. I had lived a life that was conducive to it at a young age, and then when I started getting into school, like I, was getting the like marches to the beat of their own drum and would be really smart, and I've got ADHD, I have an oddity. That's what I'm gonna title this channel actually. I haven't quite figured it out. But something about oddity. Not this channel. This channel will be what it is, but I think I'm going to do another YouTube account that's like solely dedicated to the autism factor. Not YouTube. I'm going to do another Instagram account that's like solely dedicated to the autism factor. But yeah, there's another like, okay. I found myself doing this a lot this summer, and I was calling it casting spells. It's stimming. It's like looking for my whatever. That's another thing. I think like the autism kind of went unnoticed because I made it hot. You know, like I think sometimes when I was really dysregulated, it'd be like, oh, there's your manic pixie dream queer. When the ADHD takes over, you know, because that need for like adventure, but regularity and all the kind of like tics and exciting things that come up, like that's that manic pixie dream girl, but I like manic pixie dream queer because I don't fit into that gender binary.
Gay street.
I don't care. My pronouns are whatever. Use anything. But ADHD. Squirrel. But also, like, I'm so much of a house husband. I like would go visit friends and I'd be like, hey, what can I fix and take care of? And often, like, not actually fix or take care of it, which I feel fits that, you know? If you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Because at my core, like, I'm so pissed about this. I really need routine. Like, I get up every morning now and I make my bed and it makes me feel better, and I'm so mad about it. I'm like, fuck, I've been told this since I was 7 years old, and 30 years later I have to admit, yep, it works. If I reset my space in the evening and in the morning and just like build that into my routine, all these basic things that, you know, you find in like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I'm like, ugh, no, there's a reason people keep giving me this book. It helps. I want to be so easy and go with the flow, and I built a career off of being able to do what I need to do with limited information, and probably because I needed the structure so bad that I would like figure out how to create base structures, but then the ADHD would be like, we've never quite got there. And learning that like that actually isn't the neurotypical experience. Not that I fully believe in that. The allistic, that's non-autistic people are allistic because they kind of take in the whole, whereas autistic people take in all the parts and kind of look at all of them to find the whole. So I'm going to come back to what was it like being autistic but not knowing it was autism. So because I was trained to not melt down, to act socially acceptable almost, like it's still never quite right. I know I was always off to people. I distinctly remember I'd like called into a job I just started and people thought they had they had called me and they left a message and they thought they'd hung up, but they hadn't. And so then I heard the conversation after they hung up was like talking about how I just seemed a little bit off and they weren't quite sure about me and whatever else. And then it was really funny, like hearing them realize the phone was still off the hook. And then, yeah, it was a little awkwardness after, and I think I got moved to a different department now that I think about it. But all of that is that autism thing where I look mostly normal, but there's still something quite off. And then it's like people are nice to me, but I never feel like quite of the part of the group. And that's okay. Like, I don't think everybody has to be friends with everyone all the time. I've got amazing friends and I find my people, but that's been like a reoccurring theme throughout my life. And when I didn't know it was autism, I just thought there was something I had to fucking fix about myself. But now that I know that's what it is, like, I can accept that and work with it. And I'd rather be myself as fully and be able to like advocate for what I need. And I didn't know what I needed. Like, that's the other huge thing. I was like, it's cool, we're cool, take your time. I'm patient with people all the time in so many different ways, when actually I have very, very specific things I need in order to be functional. And so the result of that was me actually going into like dysregulation, and my brain, my like executive functioning shutting down. And there are so many different factors that are like physiological and around medications and misdiagnoses, and I will get into all of that at some point. Basically everything I did to accommodate everybody else and try to fit in, like, completely dysregulated me. I couldn't ask for help because I didn't know what I needed for help. I couldn't ask for support because I didn't know what I needed for support. And then I would try to support other people because I'm like, if other people have what they need, then they can give me what I need. Really weird logic. And I can't say that was more of a subconscious thing that I've had to like go deep to look at and be able to see. So yeah, it led me to like some pretty strong dysregulation. And then the other thing that happened is like I learned not to melt down. So what I would do instead of melt down is I would dissociate. I was always a big reader as a kid. I was like crazy. I'd pick like one TV show and just like, that's my show. And I would like read fan fiction, and I would write fan fiction. I would like wait for the episodes to come out because again, this was like pre-streaming days. They're like every week, got to be there to watch the show. Huge. Like now that I know more about autism, like that's very, very autistic. But I always felt like I had to like pretend to not like that stuff as much or whatever else. And so I developed a really strong, or I've always kind of had this really strong imaginatory life, this fantasy world that I could escape to. And so instead of melting down, I would shut down and I would go into fantasy world. And so like fast forward into like 3+ decades of like intense masking my entire life, working in jobs that like were very against my I don't know, like sensory, that went against my sensory needs, and overstimulating that were really overstimulating, but also like understimulating. It's like the environment is overstimulating and the like mental tasks are understimulating. So they got that kind of autism that like comes with high intelligence, not low intelligence. And I have to say, like the low intelligence thing, I'm like, is it actually low intelligence or is it difficulty communicating? Not convinced it's low intelligent. I just think it might read that way to autistic people, but I am so new to this, I don't know. That's just a little theory. Based on my own experience. That I tend to try to over communicate because I don't understand social situations and social dynamics. And like, I think I also realized that like having to look at all parts and like intensely investigate and be like, I can come up with like 10 different reasons for why like this group of people is feeling this way and I don't know which one is true, or acting this way or whatever. Like that is not the holistic experience. It's very much an autistic experience. And I think I got really good at like just being like, okay, well, people can tell me, but people don't. And then I would get frustrated at other people because, yeah. So kind of 3 decades worth of burnout, I finally got on the path of doing what I really, really want to do with my life. And my cognitive functioning, my executive functioning, which is like the ability to plan and the ability to like make good decisions. There's more to it, but like those were huge factors, like were shot. And I went so far into my fantasy worlds because I didn't realize I was overstimulated and just like needed to be able to like stim or rock or go to nature or like calm myself down. Even though I was also always going out to nature, like at this time I was just like, go to the mountains, look at the stars, go to the mountains, look at the stars, like on a weekly basis. And that was me just like trying to give my body a little bit of regulation without me knowing that's what I needed and how like desperately I needed it. I just being kooky, star loving fox. And I lost touch with reality. Like I couldn't keep track of like what I had communicated outwardly to people, what was happening just in my mind. Because I didn't know I was dissociating into fantasy. And then I got really into like the esoteric stuff, which I loved, and I'll do another video about that at another time because like I've been thinking about this stuff since I was in elementary school, and I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, I couldn't grasp what needed my attention and all that stuff, and I really, my brain clicked into a thought loop of this like puzzle that I had to solve, and I couldn't see that it wasn't a puzzle, it was like other people, and that I actually just needed to give space and dog plus skateboard. That is my happiest distraction. That was really cool. And I honestly, I dropped it all and I went out on an epic adventure, and parts of it were beautiful, and a lot of the internal stuff, the anxiety and whatever else I had to work through was really intense. And when I say beautiful, I'll have to like cut in any of like footage or photos or whatever, because like I just went out to the West Coast and relied on the friends and community I had out there, and was by ocean and just in these beautiful natural settings, and that's how I reset. But it wasn't until I came home and had like family and community supports that have known me even longer, the place where I had a career and have opportunity to like work and regain a little bit of financial stability, which I'm slowly getting there, that I really, really started to fully come out of it, and get to a place where I'm like, I can't know fully without input from other people, like what was real and what wasn't, but I also don't need to. I just need to be in my life right now, attending to it moment by moment by moment. So there's my long rant about what it's been like to be autistic and not know it, and I wonder if I'm even still recording. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Bye.